always talk about, like, I can't trust a politician that can't say black people. For some reason, if somebody says African American, if a politician has to say African American and they're not comfortable enough in the black community to say black people, I just can't rock with them. That's just me. So that's what I mean by that. Like, I can make the limp wrist, joke because I'm on team limp wrist. Like, I'm for the gay people. Like, I'm cool with y'all. So, I feel like I can make the joke.
What up? It's Three Brothers No Sense. I am Tavares Ferguson, a.k.a. Ferg, joined with my co-host, Buff and Razi. Fellas, tell them what's on your mind.
I'm just laughing at a lot of these commercials, man. Everybody has a coronavirus commercial now. Like, Little Caesars is letting us know what temperature they're baking their pizza at. Papa John's, we bake our pizza at 450 degrees now, so you don't have to worry about coronavirus. You got Hyundai telling us and all these other car companies saying.
But that's not even the best part, though, Buff.
But listen. Hey, Ferg, they said, you, the people, have always been our number one priority. No, we haven't. The profit has. The profit. Stop lying. What was you about to say?
For Papa John's and Little Caesars, the goal is they don't touch their pizza after the oven.
Yeah.
After it comes out of the oven, so they got the no-touch seal or whatever it is.
So were they touching it before? Like,
I don't
when
know,
it used to come out of the oven?
Are they cutting it? I don't know if they're cutting it before. Maybe they were cutting it before. After they got out of the oven. I don't know what it is, but whatever it is. And I did have some Papa John's the other day, and it did come with a seal. So
I haven't heard a pizza commercial so ridiculous since Domino's. Remember when they did their rebrand, and they was like, Domino's, now we use 100% cheese. I said, yo, what did I use it before?
Pasteurized government cheese.
I just been laughing at that. And Three Brothers, the Instagram page, we posted a Netflix April list of new movies that are like, a lot of predominantly black movies. So I call myself watching everyone on the list. Just finished the Lethal Weapon series. Hey, man, those movies hold up. All four of them. They hold up, a little over the top, but I watch them, I enjoy them, and I just laugh at how miserable Mel Gibson must have been in those movies, considering what we know about him now. Because they had a lot of race relation topics on those movies. Plus, he's working with Danny Glover. So, just funny to me, man. That's
What did you watch Players Club too?
Yep. I'm a little mad. They cut out one of my favorite scenes on Players Club when the bald dude comes in Bernie Mac's house while he's in the bed and he puts the shotgun in his mouth. They cut that out. They cut out the scene where Diamond's dad is shooting his pistol with Jamie Foxx. To kind of like, let them know, don't mess with my daughter. Come on, son. You know what the mosey wosey is. So I cut that out. I completely
forgot about the fact that you remember all those scenes. But
so that's what I got going on, man. And I'm sipping some Goose right now.
Players Club, I don't know why. I feel like somebody had that DVD or something senior year. I'm pretty sure we watched it at least once a week. But sure. That's hilarious. I'm at Lorenzo's house. It was Lorenzo, so I'm calling you out.
Man, that
was it before or after Jerry Springer?
I think it was right after Young and Restless, and then Jerry Springer, and then we would watch Players Club.
That was kind of telling no lie right there. We used to skip school and watch Jerry Springer. Like, it wasn't just on; we was like watching that joint.
Yeah.
Yeah, we were idiots.
Yeah, that was us, man. But we had a reason. We were so like they switched us to block schedule, so we literally had like one class to take senior year to graduate. So we had too many credits, so there was no reason for us to be at school.
Yeah, I had all the credits I needed to graduate by the end of junior year. It was just mandatory classes, like one or two mandatory classes we had to take each semester to fully graduate. Mm-hmm. So yeah, that Dayton. Hey, piss poor planning. I had a blast. Yeah, I had a blast. And then we came up on those early dismissal slips. So That made life that much easier when you can just like get out of school and come in the next. Hey, sign this real quick. Hey, I have a slip. Take it. I know my homeroom teachers be pissed off at me like, nigga, every week.
Yes,
every week. Every week. What you got for us, Razi?
Man, the only thing I got to talk about is down goes Sanders. Bruh, Sanders is out of the race. It is Joe Biden and Donald Trump for the 2020 presidential election. So going into the general election, it's gonna be interesting to see if the Bernie Bros do what they did to Hillary and just say no, we're not gonna show up anymore. That it's just crazy, man.
Two old white men that don't have a great track record with black people.
Yeah,
I'm already hearing people saying they're not gonna vote for him though.
Well, Joe,
they better.
Yeah.
I've seen a meme that's going around that says, or I think it was a tweet. Somebody tweeted. They said, "You're not voting for Joe. You're voting for the Supreme Court nominees, RBG's replacement." So that's
Exactly.
really what it's about. RBG's coming out, and I think there's another liberal justice that's like 86, 87 that's probably not going to make it another 4 years. So that's 2 seats on the Supreme Court that is going to get filled by whoever wins in November. So worst case scenario, go out and you need to vote. Yeah, truthfully, vote. If you want a liberal on that bench, you need to go vote for a liberal and vote on that Democratic ticket. And third party candidate, you need to go ahead and get that out of your head because they're not going to win. So all you're doing is splitting your vote and wasting it. So I hate to say it, but at this point, it's pick one. It's Joe Biden or Trump. You need to pick one.
Well, I am not the resident expert on politics, but since you went down that line, did you guys hear about what was going on in Wisconsin? Like the governor was trying to postpone their election, and he ran against, a conservative house, and ran into a conservative house, and they just pretty much screwed that all up. So, what were your thoughts on that, Buff? I'm pretty sure you were all over that. Like they went from 180 voting precincts to 5. And it was really the Republicans pushing it just because they wanted to get this. Well, I forgot what seat was up. There was a seat up, and they were trying to get it. And
I saw that. I felt like they should have waited, man. I mean, elections are definitely important, but you can't, on one hand, tell us how important it is to stay in the House and then still hold elections. Like, let's just go ahead. I just wish we would be. I'm trying to be careful because I know there's so many conspiracy theorists out there that have their takes on it, but we need to get a grip on this as soon as possible so it can be over with as soon as possible. The longer we have half of the country like doing what they're supposed to be and the other half not. Some of you probably saw the picture of what went on in the DC wharf with crowds of people out there. Like, people are still not doing what they're supposed to be doing. And this is gonna linger to where, forget what happened in Wisconsin. There are rumors that the national election, the presidential election could be delayed if this continues on. So yeah, it's very important that we get a grip on this as soon as possible, man, because there's some big things coming up that could be canceled or delayed.
That's why I actually agreed with them not canceling it or delaying it, because that sets precedent at least a little bit for not delaying the November election. So, because that general election is a big deal. And I do feel like if Trump's down in the polls far enough and his folks say, and they see that he's probably not going to win, he's going to start pushing to delay it.
Do you think they should have done like mail-in ballots? Because they've already pushed back their convention. So however, I think they pushed back the convention like a month, so maybe push back the election a month and it wouldn't have affected anything. But do you think they should have done mail-in ballots?
I think so. I mean, I think that would have been much better. Some type of absentee, something, figuring out a way to actually keep the date and mail in, I don't know, online, but then you got to start thinking about hacking and everything else. So it's complicated, man. It's difficult, but I just don't want to set that precedent of moving these things because of the coronavirus, and then we end up moving that general election.
But hasn't the precedent already been set? Haven't there been a few states who have postponed? Yes. So we're already past that. I think from what I read was the governor waited a little too late to kind of pitch that idea and kind of went half-ass at it, and was also trying to do like what you were saying, Buff, and I was about to bring that up, having mail-in ballots, but the system is not set up yet to handle the number of ballots it would take, or the demand it would take to mail all those out, count them, do everything they needed to do. And the reason I wish they would have did that, because it would have also, to kind of contrast to what you were saying, it would have gave us a kind of a template to say, okay, let's start preparing for the worst. Yeah. What happens if this dies down for the summer? Come mid-October, beginning of flu season, we see this kick back up and we shut down again. Do we have something in place to handle this? Do we already have absentee ballots or a system where we can sit there and say, we're not going to push this back? And even if we push it back, it won't be too far. And we have a plan for it, because I have a feeling your fearless leader is going to use this to his advantage.
Speaking of him, did you see where when he voted mail-in ballot, but he's against mail-in?
He said, well, yeah, I did it because I can. Wait, what?
Man, it's just so much foolishness, and I don't get it. I don't know, man. Anything else? Everything good? Y'all ready for y'all Easter speeches and all that stuff?
Easter speeches aren't a big deal. I don't think they do them up here in VA, the DMV area.
Is that a Southern thing?
I think it's a black church thing.
Listen, we found out that B Spice is a Mobile thing. I think Easter speeches might be a Southern thing. And I also think the word janking might be a Mobile thing, because they call it joning up here. They call it
joning up there. Yeah. No, definitely.
Does anywhere else use janking?
No. And when you say it out loud, it does sound very country and very Mobile. So,
you trying to jank? Okay. All right.
But no. So we're going to put that on. I guess we'll post that this week. I want to see if Easter speeches are just a Southern thing.
That's a good question, man.
I don't know, man.
I don't know. But I went and got all the stuff for the Easter baskets, and so I went Easter shopping today at my usually every other day Target run, because I just make up reasons to go to Target just to get out of the house, to get away from the kids, just to get some time alone. I masked up today, so I'm trying to follow all the COVID guidelines, but I got to get out of here, bruh. And Haley be mad because I do all of it, and I go because I'm like, no, I got to put myself on the line. I can't have you out there. So she be wanting to leave, and I'm like, nope, can't go nowhere. It's just me. So
that boy probably take long as hell at Target.
Sometimes I just sit in the parking lot for like 5-10 minutes, like,
So the self-checkout is open? Nah, I'm good. I'm just going to stand in this long line right here. Oh, man, you only got 3 things. You can go ahead of me. You know my God kids like that?
Hey, man, they getting plenty of time with me, I promise.
I know, man. I know. But that's hilarious, man. So Target getting all your money. I need to buy you Target gift cards. Is that what it is?
Hey, man, I'll take them. That red card, hey, if you ain't got that red card, you need to get on top of that. That 5% be adding up.
That's just another excuse for Z to spend more money.
Oh, she's like, I got 5 extra %.
I'm saving you 5%. No, but you spent 125%. All right, fellas, it's good, man. Anything else y'all got for me?
That's it.
All right, man. Well, you know what time it is. Let's pay these bills.
Love, exciting and new. Hello, Hannah Waddingham here. Have you seen the fabulous new Sun Princess? World-class entertainment, exceptional dining, and the greatest pizza ever. It's alive.
Don't miss our come aboard sale with up to 40% off and free room upgrades. Visit princess.com or call your travel advisor to book. Princess Cruises. Terms and restrictions apply. Offer ends 2/28/25. Ships of Bermudan and British Registry.
All right, we're back, and we got a new segment on the show. I'm about to call Razi out, so I hope he's ready for the one mic stand. Are you ready for the next comedian?
Hey, man. Yeah, so, hey, did you guys hear about Steve Harvey and his wife? They got into a fight? Y'all didn't hear about that?
No.
I mean, it was a family feud.
Wow.
Yeah, I mean,
my question is the audience laughing at these? Or are they having the same reaction as me and Ferg?
Hey, whether they laughing at me or with me, they laughing. I'm winning. I don't care.
No, they're laughing. We don't know if you're winning. They laughing. Oh, bro, that the rim shot, I did not expect that.
Yeah, I had to look it up. I had to find one.
That caught me off guard.
That was pretty good.
Well, I guess I wasn't going to ask this question this way, but a conversation we kind of had earlier made me bring it up. So we were talking about politics, elections and stuff like that. And, everybody starts talking about the Constitution and states' rights and people's rights and all that stuff around this time of year. So I'm going to talk about, and this is kind of was spurred by, I think, a conversation we had earlier this week or maybe this weekend or something like that about freedom of speech and where's the line drawn? And is there a time when being politically incorrect is acceptable?
So let me start off by saying, yes, we have freedom of speech, but that doesn't always mean that you need to say a particular thing.
I mean, that's why people voted for Trump, because he speaks his mind.
Well, there's a lot of reasons why people voted for Trump, man.
I mean, that was the least. I mean, I think that's the one people use to kind of mask the other reasons they had. Well, I think he just speaks. He speaks for us. He speaks to.
Well, and I watched a segment by a speech analyst or whatever. The biggest thing is Trump doesn't really speak his mind. The way he speaks, he's speaking other people's mind, because if you listen to him, he leaves a lot of words out and lets you fill in those words. And so that's why when you listen, he jumps from sentence to sentence and thought to thought. And it's hard to follow, but the thing is, his listeners or the people that really like him, they're filling in things that kind of self-actualize and say, oh, he's saying exactly what I want to say. So a lot of the stuff that he says isn't really him. Like, that's why he'll say both parts of something. Like, you might think he's contradicting himself a lot of times, because he'll say one side and then he'll come back and say the other side. Because what happens is the people that want to listen to him and like him, they pick the part that actually associates with them, and they say he's thinking the exact same thing I am. And so it doesn't matter if he contradicted himself in that exact same sentence or the exact same thought.
So when you say,
I think you gave him a little too much credit on that one.
Because he definitely contradicts himself.
Like, caught a line.
Oh, I ain't say he do it on purpose. I'm saying he does it.
Okay.
When you say, should you draw a line with freedom of speech?
Well, I think people use freedom of speech too loosely. Like, I think it's like you have the right to say what you want to say, just like as freedom of speech.
You do. I think people look at the First Amendment and they say that, but the thing about the First Amendment is you can't get tried like criminally when you say those things. That doesn't mean there aren't consequences behind your freedom of speech. And so people can.
I think that's what people don't realize. So I should be able to say what I want to say. And because I can't get tried, there's nothing wrong, because if it ain't against the law, if it ain't illegal, what's the problem? I can call Michelle Obama. What did he call her? They were calling her a baboon and all kind of stuff. Mm-hmm. Well, I think she looks like one. And is there anything wrong with that? And because that's how I feel. That's how people were defending themselves. And I guess because I didn't have conversations with people that would say that. But I want you guys to continue. Did that kind of answer your question, Buff?
Somewhat. So, I mean, we already have a line that's drawn with freedom of speech. Like the example they always give is you can't say fire in a movie theater. You can't say anything that's like threatening someone. You can't incite a mob or a riot. But I think Razi kind of like cleared it up, man. It's like you can say whatever you want for the most part. Freedom of speech just means we're not necessarily going to put you in jail, but you can lose your job. You can have all these consequences and things like that happen to you. And also what I've learned is a lot of people who scream that freedom of speech stuff, they can't take it. They can dish it, but they can't take it. We talked about Trump and his voters. Okay. They always like to scream about how everything's too PC, too PC. But when Hillary Clinton called them a basket of deplorables, then they got their feelings hurt and they want an apology. When Obama said they cling to their Bibles and their gun, they got their feelings hurt and they want an apology. So they can dish it, but they can't take it. So I always kind of like, it always grabs my attention when people scream about, freedom of speech this, freedom of speech that, because to me, that's almost code for, hey, I want to be able to call you a nigger without any repercussions.
100%. That's it right there. They want to be able to call you a derogatory phrase and not have any consequences. They want to go back to the 50s. That's really what it is. That idea of make America great again. They want to go back to when they could belittle people with immunity and be able to walk down the street and it'd be okay, but then still have their, white privilege. I'll say it, their white privilege protected. They like Byron said, you can't say anything bad about me. I want an apology for that, but I can call you all kind of names and allude to all kind of stuff that we know is racist, classist, sexist. All of those, it's out there. I can do all of that stuff and it's okay. I don't want any consequences because of that. So my thing is, PC for real is just the masses and society saying, we aren't going to accept that anymore, because that's really what it comes down to. Politically correct just means that as a society, we've decided that's no longer acceptable.
Okay. Devil's advocate. That's what I do. So, okay. So I can't call you a nigga.
Oh,
Let me tell you a joke.
You can.
Let me tell you a joke. So a black guy, a Jew, and a Mexican walk in the bar.
No.
So my whole thing is I get what you're saying, but I'm like, they might not say the N-word, but when they want to tell a black joke. So when they go like a black guy, a Jew, and a Mexican walk in the bar, they don't mean any harm, but it's funny. I'm trying to get a laugh out of it. I'm not trying to be derogatory or whatever the case may be. And so now is it okay if you like, is this about to tell a black joke? My bad, Razi, you can bleep that out. But like when they go down that line, when we do, and Razi, I gotta hit it, the gesture. Is that cool? I just did the limp wrist gesture. Like when we do those things, because we're not like evil people. We're not trying to push the limit. Like, can I get away with this? And you made a good point. Like, if we can't joke, we can't treat you any different than anybody else. Like, if I can make a joke about Buff, but I can't make a joke about you or this person because they're gay. Like, where's the line drawn? Like, like, hey, you can't tell Jan she looks nice today, and it's even when you get to sexual assault or sexual harassment, because you got to be too PC. I can't tell her she looks nice today because, hey, she thinks I'm flirting with her, or I'm sexualizing her, or, oh, you don't look nice any other day, you just look nice today. Like, those are those things. Is there a way?
I think that's a perfect example, that Jan example. If
not the lip wrist,
not the lip wrist too. It's like if I am cool enough with you and you understand my intent, I can joke with you. Like Jan, if Jan knows me as a person that I will say that to her and I'm not hitting on her, then it's cool to say, hey, you looking nice today. That I like that shirt or whatever. And they won't take it the wrong way. So it's all about the how that person receives it. And so that's
I overheard you. I overheard you, Mr. HR, and I got offended. So you got to think when it comes to those situations, it's all about.
Yeah, and I'll tell you, even in that situation, if somebody calls me and says, Razi said something to another employee, and I felt that it was inappropriate, I'm going to do an investigation as an HR rep, and I'm going to talk to the person. Hey, were you offended? I'm going to talk to them. What was the intent behind it? Of course, they're going to say there was nothing behind it. I was just saying he looked nice today. And then what I'm going to do is probably coach that person to say, hey, be careful, workplace environment, yada, yada, yada. But I'm also that employee that made that complaint. I'm going to explain the differences of that. There's things that, hey, complimenting somebody on how they look is very, very different than sexual harassment of every day I'm saying something sexual in nature to you. So there's lines there, but it's really about comfort level, because there can be two people that flirt with each other and they're making sexual comments to each other. And then it is, alienating another person in the office, or it becomes sexual harassment for that other person in the office. So that you have to look at that situation, and that kind of goes back to that bigger conversation of, the limp wrist. I always talk about, like, I can't trust a politician that can't say black people. For some reason, if somebody says African American, if a politician has to say African American and they're not comfortable enough in the black community to say black people, I just can't rock with them. That's just me. So that's what I mean by that. Like, I can make the limp wrist, joke, because I'm on team lip wrist. Like, I'm for the gay people. Like, I'm cool with y'all. So, I feel like I can make the joke. And if I can't,
but that's a stereotype. You just stereotype this whole group of people by a limp wrist. Now, I get what you're saying. I don't think but I think that's my whole. That's why I'm asking this conversation.
I mean, coming from the jokester of the group, haha. No, I'm just playing, but but a lot of jokes are rooted in that, though. I mean, when you look at even Dave Chappelle, you look at his stand-ups and everybody, a lot of them, he's either social commentary on the stereotype, or he's just using the stereotype. Now, the better comedians, what they start to do is they are able to actually comment on the stereotype and make the joke, and not actually like expound or expand the stereotype. That's just very hard to do, and it's very difficult to do. But I mean, I don't think I'm there yet on that one.
Yeah. And I mean, I think it's also I think with Dave Chappelle, sometimes it's intent. Like, he's really trying to bring a awareness to subjects, or show you people how dumb we are when it comes to looking at certain things. But I don't think everybody that makes those comments or makes those gestures does it that way. It's, you might not be calling him a nigger, and I said nigger with the ER, but you might make a assumption like, well, oh, y'all hungry? I got some watermelon. Like, I thought you might want something. Like, what? Like, if you were at work and just random white dudes just offered you watermelon, nobody else in the break room watermelon, you kind of like, this is not just offer me.
But watermelon is delicious, though. Like, I would take some. Like, why, yes.
But I mean, it's those things are, and am I being too sensitive at that point? Like, where does that freedom or that line, where's that line drawn?
Yeah. Buff, you over there laughing. What you got?
It's a lot. So I like what Ferg said, because he touched on people wanting to be able to say the N-word, and everybody's favorite white guy at the moment now, Joe Exotic, from Tiger King, some video surfaced where he, like a lot of other white people, whenever the N-word comes up, was talking about how rappers get to say it all the time. So why can't he? Why shouldn't he be able to say it? I'm always very cautious of those type of people, because to me, it's like, why do you want to say it so bad? Like, those people, like when Don Imus came up, anytime the N-word comes up, when Hulk Hogan was caught on tape saying it, certain white people will bring that same argument up every time. Rappers say it, why can't I? Here's the thing, for those white people who feel that way, you can say it. you may have black friends that allow you to say it. What I'm going to tell you is if you're around Razi, Ferg, or Buff and you say it, it may go a little differently than it has in the past.
Right.
So again, say it at your risk. You can say it, but there's a risk to it. So nobody's saying you can't say it, but just, be aware there could be consequences.
I get it. Like, what's the point? Is it a necessity? Is it worth the risk?
Why you want to say it so bad? That's my question. Why you want to say it so bad? Like Razi mentioned, white privilege in his answer is like, you guys already have everything else. You redlined us, you hung us, you beat us, you whipped us. Like, that's the only thing we have right now, and you want that.
Yeah, but once again, being devil's advocate is there's a hierarchy in everything. Even in the black community, and a lot of times one of the worst things you can be in the black community is gay. And so when we make gay jokes or are judgmental on them or the gay community, so a lot of times we feel like we should be able to say what we want to say. We use all kind of derogatory terms and stuff like that without malintent. Like,
I mean, it goes back to our conversation about, team light skin versus team dark skin, like jonesing on each other or janking each other versus like really having malintent and malice behind it. And that's kind of what I look at. And it's a fine line. It's just difficult to walk that line.
But you're also okay with it. But the little 12-year-old gay boy that hears you say something might not understand what you're saying. Just like, your intent might be pure, but it can still hurt.
Well, I think for each minority group, you have people who you have determined, who you have deemed allies and adversaries. So like, Bill Maher, for instance, said nigger a couple of years ago with Senator Sass on his show. And he caught some heat. Ice Cube came over there and kind of tongue lashed him a little bit, but he wasn't like canceled versus if Rush Limbaugh had said the same joke, we would have been coming at his neck because Bill Maher, even though he's white, is kind of considered a liberal and an ally to black people. Orazio, depending on how big this platform gets, they listen to all of the episodes, they will see that Orazio is an ally to gay people. So when he makes a joke like that, he's not being, that makes what I mean? Yeah.
So, but if insert gay comedian, gay person that comes on the show and just say, hey, Razi, I remember the first time I listened to the show, you said something, I didn't really appreciate that. Now you've gotten that Ice Cube tongue lashing, kind of like, hey, dude, I know you think it's cool, but it ain't cool. Does Razi change his tone?
Well, I'll let Razi answer, but Razi has to respect that. If that's coming from a gay person, I would think Razi has to respect that. But go ahead, Razi. What would you say?
Yeah, I mean, that's one of those things. It's like, I can apologize. I can take the tongue lashing if need be, and just be like, oh, my bad. I legitimately was just trying to make a joke for, about the situation. I mean, so I've seen, like, we all talk about we have gay friends, and so I've seen my gay friends make the limp wrist joke. So, and again, it's that goes back to that whole, rapper say it type thing, right? Where, oh, you're in the community, so you're saying it. So I feel like I'm okay to say it too, because I'm an ally. But if somebody in the community came and was like, hey, we found that instance tasteless, then my bad. And okay, I know I shouldn't take it that far. I took it too far that time. It is what it is.
Yeah. And see, like I said, I'm just playing devil's advocate. It didn't bother me, but just, it made me think, like, do we give ourselves passes because we automatically went to white privilege? But then there's other things that we kind of like will sweep under the rug.
Yeah, there's straight privilege, there's male privilege. Yeah, there's plenty of privileges.
Yeah. And before we move on, I'll say that the difference between an Orazio and an adversary is when Orazio is confronted with a gay person saying, hey, I didn't appreciate it. Orazio apologizes and say, hey, I was just trying to make a joke. An adversary doubles down and says, well, this person says it or that person says it, or like you say, when we're talking about the N-word, rappers say it all the time, so why are you offended when I say it? That's what adversaries do. They don't listen to the people that it's affecting.
Right. And that's what I was talking about with PC is once society or that minority group says, hey, we're standing up for it again. At that point, those allies and truthfully society as a whole should be like, oh, well, can't do that anymore. And we move on. That's how society evolves. I mean, but that's always been the conservative liberal fight, right? Is, hey, we want to move past that. Conservatives are like, no, we want to stay where we are. We like it how it is. So, Well,
we're about to have a Three Brothers first. So we're about to do a PSA. So you talked about white people can't say the N-word. Buff, Razi, do you want to tell any other group out there that they can or cannot say the N-word moving forward? Because I'm in Texas, and I definitely hear Hispanics and other groups say it all the time, like when I'm walking around.
Yeah, black people seem to be divided on that. I remember when J-Lo first said the N-word in that song with Ja Rule, people was like, what? I mean, she's Puerto Rican, so she can say it. For me, only black people should be allowed to say it. But hey, I'm just one of, 13 million?
How many? So wait a minute now. I mean, but Joey Crack.
I'm not with that either.
No, you don't like that either?
No.
Because I see like the cool Asians, a bunch of Hispanics. Like I've seen everybody. And
I think we're split on that one because I don't. If they're not white, I hate to say it, but if they're a minority themselves, I'm good with it. I really, yeah.
Yeah. See, we divided.
I never hear. But it's funny because it's almost. I've never seen them call like a black person that. It's like. Right. It's all they call themselves that, you know what I'm saying? So I guess we can't have our PSA because we don't have anything. We haven't voted on it yet.
Yeah, we're not unanimous.
So maybe that's another a question we'll leave open to the listeners.
So Razi got the short end of the stick last week, so I'm gonna let him take the next question, and if there's enough time, I'll get mine in.
Okay, all right. So get a little bit more serious with this one, but probably not too much. But so last week, towards the end of the week, there was a memory that came up on my timeline from me and Jenica in New Orleans at our marriage retreat. And so if you guys don't know, me and Jen really worked hard at strengthening our relationship. And so we went every 2 years, we went on the military's marriage retreat. We did the church's marriage retreats a lot. We were part of marriage groups and all this other stuff. And so I wanted to ask you guys, what are you guys doing, or how do you kind of maintain your relationship and strengthen your personal relationships with your wives?
So Tabitha and I have kind of fell off. At one time we were, there were I forgot who sent me the list, but there were certain Bible verses that were specific to couples. Mm-hmm. And we would read those each night and, talk about them and discuss them. So we kind of fell off of that. But that's probably the only thing. We kept everything else up. We do date days. We had one in New York last year. We was going to have one last month, but coronavirus. Mm-hmm. But so we do date days. And we just, like I've said before on the show, she's my best friend. So we talk just like the three of us for the most part. The only thing is she don't like name calling. So just how we can call each other names, she don't like that. That's the only part of the homeboy is she don't like. But other than that, man, we keep it light. You know what I mean? We don't take it too seriously. We look forward to hanging out with one another. We love when it's hard for us to get a trip scheduled, just me and her, because we got to find somebody to watch Jasmine, and we don't have that many relatives up here. So we got to get one of the Mobile parents to come up here. And so it's a whole big deal. But when we are able to, when we went to LA last year, we make the most of it. We do it up. So we haven't been on any marriage retreats, or whatever. But we definitely, work at it. That's I'm rambling, but that's the main thing. We work at it. We don't just get complacent to where we just become roommates. We work at it.
Razi, so I commend you. That's one thing I need to do better, and we need to do better, is to do things that are formal to improve our marriage, like those marriage retreats. But I think at the same time, it says a lot about you guys, because you also you're the only one amongst us that goes to counseling or has been to counseling before all of this either. Anyway, so you've always been more open to getting outside help or doing something more formalized rather than, like consulting each other. But for the most part, Z and I, we've been blessed to the point we've had a very, very, very good marriage. I can't really complain. But what we do is we talk a lot. I think that's the thing. And I said it before, I think for the most part, we counsel each other through just having random conversations about marriage, life, what we see, how things affect us, how things we see our other friends and family going through affect us. So we really get to learn each other, and somehow we always spin it into a lesson, almost like okay, this is how we can improve, or this is what we took from it to make sure we stay on this path. We also just like to have fun together. Like Z is that's the homie, you know what I'm saying? Like, she's funny as hell. She keeps me laughing. She's goofy, even when I try to be too serious. And then we also just really try to, like Byron said, we try to have like one date night a month. It might not be huge, but we're going to drop the kids off at my sister or stepmom's house and try to get away for a few hours. Usually if we drop them off, we're not picking them up that day because we got to get sit in. Or just coming home and just realizing we don't have to go back to the kids. Like that day or that night is all about us. It's not a time limit. And then we just, like I said, we just really try to have fun. And I think something that helps us as well is we try to surround ourselves around positive couples. We try to, and, that's why there was an affinity for you guys. It was always there. It was just, it's people that are trying to do or trying to work and really value marriage and each other. And it's just because you've been around those couples where just like, if she can get up and walk away from him and he can get up walk away from them and just call it quits, they would. And if they didn't have the kids and all that stuff, we try to stay away from that. We want to be around that energy, and it feels us, but also it helps being around those couples because we also share our energy. We're around a lot of times around couples and they're like, man, I just like being around you and Z. There's a positive energy and it helps me and my wife. And it's like, well, hearing that, because it's not like we're putting on a play or putting on for them. It's generally how we act. We like to have fun. We did I had to leave Friday when we were recording because we did a couples quarantine game night. You know what I'm saying? And that was just cool. That was one of the couples we hang with, one of the young ladies, and her husband's a Brud, and she's a Delta. So the ladies put that together, and it was just a bunch of us, maybe 5-6 couples, just did a game night. So that's a real good question. I think we've been seeking, and I'm not even going to say we've been seeking. We've mentioned counseling, and so that is something that I've dropped the ball on, because as the head, we've talked about it. She's actually given me thrown some counselors out there, and I just haven't followed up. And so hopefully by the time we record next week, I will give you guys an update on when or what counsel we decided to go with and what are next steps, because that's something I gotta seize and not just bullshit with.
Yeah, I mean, and the main reason I asked, I can't do those anymore, but every last one of them, I learned something about Jenica. Like every last one of them, we walked away, and you think it's just, especially the Army ones, you think, oh, it's a free trip. We're going to go to New Orleans and we just going to hang out and everything's going to be good. But the 6 hours, 8 hours that they actually have you go through, like the little, play stuff that they do and all of that. You learn stuff. It was the church marriage retreat. This last one that we went to, I'll just tell you guys a story. Like, as much and as close as Jenica and me were, and as happy as we were, they asked a question and they were like, do you ever, think this wasn't the one? My spouse wasn't the one. And I'm over there like, oh no, of course not. And Jenica looked at me and she's like, yeah. And I was like, what? And then she was like, yeah. And she was just like, because I knew who you were when I married you. I knew you weren't the most religious and you weren't going to be going to church like every Sunday and all that. But she was like, the Sundays that I go to church by myself, I'm on my way to church. Like, maybe he's not the one. And that hit me like really hard. And, and so I made her the commitment. I was like, even if I'm just going to church for you, she was like, I don't want you to just go to church for me. I'm like, no, because I want you to show you that I'm worthy of you and I'm going to be there for you. And if it's that important to you, then I'm going to be there every Sunday, whether I'm tired or whatever. I'm going to be there every Sunday. Because it's not that I don't like going to church. It's not that I don't get something out of it when I go. It's just that it's one of those things that if I've had a long week and like maybe I had drilled the weekend before. And so I've been going for 14 days straight. And so this is my first weekend off. Church ain't on the top of my radar right there. And
that's sleeping in on Sunday. Just sound, if church started like at 2:30, like 3:15, I'm there. You gotta wake up, get dressed.
That's slow. Because a lot of times Saturdays, everybody thinks Saturday should be kind of your slow day, but most times we have kids things that start at 11, so you're up at 9, getting them ready so you can get out of the house, or y'all might have something. So that's not really a slow day either. And so that might have been the first day that I really was able to kind of slow down. But I told her, I was like, if that's what you need out of me, then that's what I'm gonna do. And so you'd be surprised. And that's what 7 years in, I guess it finally started kind of grinding on her and hitting on her. So you might think, oh, we're good because we've been married so long and this, that, and the other. But I'm telling you, man, it might be something that, has just been grating on your spouse for the last 6 months or the last year. And it just started and they just haven't brought it to your attention. So I tell everybody, I push you, man, go find something that you can kind of have that formal, hey, we're going to go through some type of process and go through these little games or learning opportunities and have somebody administer it and facilitate it so that you can get those things out and be open when you go. Like Ferg, I think you talked about, the first time you cried and it was at a retreat and that type of thing. Like that probably wouldn't have happened outside of that retreat.
Definitely
so
not.
I'm telling everybody, go out once a year. If worst case scenario, try to do something like that. And then the other thing was we did, like Byron talked about that trip. We made sure to plan one vacation a year just for us. So you guys saw like the Hawaii or the Paris or whatever, but we always did something just for us without the kids, because so often the kids just consume your life and you end up, like Byron said, where, the kids take priority. And so if they're always taking priority over your spouse, you guys will kind of take that second and that back seat. So,
and that's why we said that at the live taping is, there's not going to be a day that I'm not going to love my kids. I might not like them, but there's not going to be a day I'm not going to love my kids. And you love me, you love them by default, and that love just keeps growing, and you don't even understand why, But it's
get teenagers.
Yeah. But that's when you don't like them. And that's
you love them, but you don't like them.
Yeah. Teenagers are the worst, man.
But the thing about it is, by the time they're teenagers, what happens if you don't like your wife anymore? You don't love her anymore because you didn't put so much energy in it. So like we joke, we talk about that Vadam got in kids. Like we really, we might get those shirts made, and it's not because we don't love our kids. We love our kids to death, but it's almost like our inside thing to remind, like, hey, man, they trying to stay up late, and we've had a long week, and I'm about to go to sleep soon. So if if I have an hour left in this night, an hour and a half left in this night, let it be me and you. Even if we just sit on the couch together and your foot's on my foot and you over there texting and I'm watching TV, it's just our time. You know, it's we don't got to worry about the kids and mommy, daddy asking this and that. It's just our time. So it's like we always try to put each other first, you know, even though it might, even kind of saying it's almost like, it's like playing a sport, practicing. We practice a certain way. Game time usually doesn't go that way, but you know how it's supposed to be run. You know how the game is supposed to be going. So that one time that hole opens up and you can really make that 90-yard touchdown run, you know how to do it. And that's what we always try to do. We might fall short, but our goal is always to put each other first, at least try to put each other first and know that's the intent. But no, man, definitely going to take that advice because we keep saying that we want to do marriage counseling. And I remember being in the military and seeing those couples retreats like, that seems so lame. You know, I don't want to do all that crap. You know, they're going here this weekend. I might, but it's just because I know, you know, growing up watching TV and you see these couples retreats on TV as far as, you know, think about Martin and Gina going on that retreat. And it was kind of like, man, that's so lame. Every time you see them, it's always a problem happens. I've never seen a TV show, and maybe because I was watching comedies, where people go on a couples retreat and that goes great. They get back together at the end, but it's like they're fighting each other, fighting the world, and somehow they end up coming back around. And when you thought it was the end, they barely make it through. So I was like, man, I'm not going to put myself through all that just to bring up problems. But I mean, you do need to address those issues. So,
All right. So I guess it's on me.
Yeah, man.
So listen, this is a different type of question. And I'm going to have to start it off with giving you guys a lot of details. And on the front end, I want to tell the listening public that I'm acknowledging that I may be wrong, but my feelings are raw because I'm about to victim blame, which is something we usually don't do on Three Brothers No Sense, but I'm victim blaming. So here's the situation. So there was a young lady, she's deceased now, but her name was Trina Winston. She lived in South Bend, Indiana. Her estranged husband wound up killing her. Her body was found in Chicago. So they went to high school together. They didn't date in high school, but they wound up running into each other like after high school. They started dating, got married a few months later. Stick with me so far. Once they got married, okay, he started verbally, physically, emotionally, even financially abusing her to the point to where she wound up, you know, filing for divorce. But during their marriage, there was one instance where he tried to kill her. Like he choked her to the point to where she passed out. He went and got a huge plastic bag and put her body in it and put her in the closet till he can figure out what to do with her body. When she came to, she freed herself and ran away. Did not call the police, but she ran away and wound up, you know, telling some of her family members. And that's when she filed for a divorce. So while the whole, you know, wait time on that was going on, he reached out to her, met up with her and said, look, let's just go talk back in my apartment. And that's when he eventually killed her. What I got angry at was, I understand that there's a lot of emotional stuff that goes on in physical abuse that makes a woman not want to leave or whatever. But once he tried to kill you and he put you in a bag and left you so he could go think of what to do with your body, why in the hell would you agree to go meet back up with him at his apartment later on in life? So again, that's why I said on the front end, I'm probably wrong because you never should victim blame. So, and that's why I said my question was different. I need you two brothers to tell me why I'm wrong for victim blaming. And the two-part question is there ever an instance, if this isn't it, is there ever an instance when you probably should give the victim some of the blame?
I think this is it.
No. I think
I'm sorry. No.
We're not making light of the situation, folks. It's just that that's not the answer you expect out of Razi. If you listen
if you just seen his face too.
yeah.
I mean, bruh, like, he literally tried to kill you, and there shouldn't have been any coffee without somebody there with you. Like, you know, or maybe she thought, okay, it's a public place, can't do much to me. I'm going to meet with him there. We're going to discuss because I'm trying to get this divorce thing going. But like you said, to go back to his house after he tried to kill you, there had to been so much emotional abuse that he had her basically in control. Like, he was 100% pimping her at that point. It had to be.
That's my dilemma, because it's like, okay, you were able to break free enough to where you knew you needed a divorce from him, and you left him essentially.
But did she though? Because the thing about it is, it may have been family forcing her to divorce him and gassing her up, but she may underlyingly wanted to stay with him and wanted to work it out and that type of thing. Because a lot of people in those situations, you know what I mean, are like, the reason why they stay is because they're like, oh, maybe he'll change. This is the last time. You said you weren't going to hit me no more. Like that is that type of thing. And so by the time, you know, even to the point where he tried to kill her, she's like, okay, he's learned his lesson now. And you know, that type of thing. That's the only thing that I could think of. But, you know, at some point you got to take personal responsibility too.
Maybe. Let me ask you this. Well, why would that never happen to you?
I mean, how many reasons you want me to give you, man? It's like,
give me one or two.
Because if you try to kill me, I mean, that's not, you know, that's the ultimate, that's the end all be all right there. Like,
end all be all of what?
And listen, Ferg, it's not where, you know, you hit her so hard to where, you know, it was the heat of the moment. You hit her, she fell, and for a split second, you thought she might, like, he literally thought you were dead, and he didn't like panic and like call the police or the paramedics. He put you in a bag and put you in the closet so he can go figure out what to do with you. You know what I'm saying?
Razi, why would that never happen to you?
Like I said, somebody tries to kill me. First of all, I'm probably going to kill them. Once I came to, I probably wouldn't even run. But if I did run, we call in the police. So there's like a bunch of gates before me meeting back up with you at the coffee shop to go back to your spot. Like, it's just not going to happen.
I think the answer he's looking for is we would never like put up with all of the abuse that she endured leading up to this.
Not only that is your self-worth. Like, I think a lot of times we can never understand why a person would do a certain thing because the way we feel about ourselves. First of all, like you said, there's a lot of abuse leading up to that. So at this point, she might have felt like maybe I don't deserve to live. Maybe I'm not good enough to live. The only reason I'm living is because he completes me. Because if he's been mentally abusing her, how long were they together before all this happened? Because they met out of high school. They got married. How long were they married? Like, was she our age? This 22?
They went to high school together. He spent 20. That's the other part I'm leaving out of the story. He spent 20 years in prison. He was in prison for murder, but he wound up snitching and like solving 12 murders for the police. So he got early release. So he was locked up for 20 years. So he essentially was about our age, maybe a little older. So he was locked up all of those years that she was out of high school. But by the time she met him, he had not too long ago got out of prison.
So we don't know what she went through before that. She might have been broken.
She did go through some stuff. She dabbled with drugs, and she was, you know, she completed that. She was no longer into drugs, but she did deal with it like early in life.
So the fact that, she took a chance, because anytime you're dating anybody, is taking a chance. But to take a chance on somebody who just got out of jail for murder, could be a chance. And for her, in this case, maybe, like I said, her self-worth wasn't that. You know, what made her go to this guy? You know, and when he tried to kill her, because I look at the same reason, why do people commit suicide? It's something about me doesn't, and I'm not an expert on this.
And I actually understand that a little more when someone tries to commit suicide. Life is hard as F-U-C-K. So I get that to an extent.
He's the reason worth living for. Like, it's to get abused like that. Like, to me, there has to be more to it. It has to be he broke her down so much that she probably did not feel like life was worth living. Or you think I'm just going to try to kill you? Like, you instigated this. You're the reason I go. You know how I am. You drove me crazy. Like, he probably he her brain up without a shadow of a doubt. So my thing is, I'm like, there's almost a level of mental illness, depression that she probably was dealing with that he preyed on, and it just kept leading to other things. Because the reason that would never happen to me is I would leave you for a lot way less. Like, if you you just don't respect me. Like, okay, she don't respect me, I'm out. You talking about somebody trying to kill you? Physically, mentally, emotionally, probably sexually abusing you? You think I'm staying around for me? As arrogant as I am? How I feel about myself? And I feel like y'all are the same way. Is like, I'm too important to put myself through that. Maybe she just didn't feel important. Maybe she just felt like this is what she deserved. Or like you said, it could be a mix of he's going to do better. He'll never try that again. You know, he's learned his lesson. I don't know what it is, but I feel like there's this level of mental illness, and her self-worth allowed her to get that far to go back. And for anybody that's been abused or anything like that, we're not experts. You know, I don't know. But to go back to somebody who literally unsuccessfully killed you, like you said, like basically he unsuccessfully killed her.
Mm-hmm.
And like, she ain't going to the police. Like, think about it. What's crazy is the fact that he went back and tried to, like, oh, she ain't told the police yet? Let me try this again before she, like, he was committed.
And I don't even think, on the flip side, even if you, like, you don't necessarily have to be arrogant like Ferg, but, you know, putting myself in a woman's shoes, I would think I would just be too scared to go back in an alone space with him. Not even the self-worth and all of that stuff. Just like, yo, you try to kill me. I can't be alone with you in no type of scenario.
You've been living in fear for years, though.
Well, yeah. You've
been living in constant fear. Like, when your baseline is fear, like, what led up to, like, was he cool the day before he tried to kill you? Like, it just didn't happen. Like, that's probably one situation. He's probably choked her out, beat her. Like, I'm just assuming it was so much. She lived in constant fear that was her norm. And like, there was a level of I feel like a level of mental illness, and maybe I'm using the wrong terminology, but that might have been her norm and her baseline. And so she was kind of accustomed to it.
And what makes you right is, I'm not even 100% sure it was the attempted murder that made her file for divorce. He got another woman pregnant at the time. That, if I'm not mistaken, that may have been what made her want to file for divorce. So it may not even been the whole choking her out thing.
You just assume. You assume that's my breaking point. I'm not worthy of this. You tell me you love me. You do this because I hit you because I love you. You know, I can't control myself. You drive me crazy. I understand it. I got a mouth on me.
Every time I hit you is your fault because you did that. You made me mad enough for me to hit you.
Girl, you know how my mouth is. You know, like, I'll be driving him crazy and he going through a lot and da-da-da. And then all of a sudden, because he's all about her, he can't control himself because of her. And then you love me so much, but you still go get another woman pregnant? Like, my love is gone now. Like, you don't love me the way you said you did. I mean, that's a whole other thing. Like, if her breaking point was him getting somebody pregnant was more important to her than her own life, I mean, I don't know the answer to that. That's a good question, man. I'm pretty sure we ruffled some feathers.
Well, mainly me.
No, because I think a lot of I made a lot of assumptions too. I mean, I think we all made assumptions. So
I expect Kristen to come come at me. I expect Waukesha, some of you ladies, and deservedly so. But I wanted to ask that question because I felt like overall Three Brothers has a pretty stellar reputation when it comes to domestic violence. We speak out on it all the time, but I wanted to show the flawed side of it, that we're not perfect on the subject, that we still have to learn. And I wanted to put that to you guys so you guys could talk me off the ledge of, hey, it's not her fault. At the end of the day, you don't know what she was going through. You don't know what her mindset was, how much he broke her. And I like some of the things you and Razi said. I felt like that's what I needed. And that's why I wanted to ask that question, because I felt like we were so great on the subject. But I don't want people to ever think that we feel like we're perfect on anything and that we are flawed. And I wanted to ask a flawed question.
Good question, man. Good question.
What's up, man?
Ladies, fellas.
Just come for Buff. It was my question. Okay. Emotional.
But I mean, I think your reaction is the average person's reaction. When they hear the story, your initial reaction, she did what? Mm-hmm. She know he was crazy. Didn't he just try to...
And for full context, TV1 is the channel. The show is Fatal Attraction. The season is 9 and the episode is 18. I think it's called False Redemption. And even if you don't have cable, I mean, it's on YouTube. You can just pull it up. But you can watch the entire episode, and it gives you the background of Trina Stinson and Trina Winston, and Terrence Lee and that whole story, in case I left out any details. Watch it, listen to this episode, and like I say, criticize me if need be. But I wanted to ask my two smart brothers here because I knew that they would, correct me on that subject.
Well, that was a good episode, fellas. I enjoyed it. Hope I didn't talk too much. Definitely had a lot to say. You guys asked some great questions. And so I hope the people enjoy it and they get to listen to it on their ride home, ride to work, ride to wherever, or just sitting at home quarantining. I think is quarantining a thing now?
Yeah, I think it's a verb now.
Okay. Yeah, quarantining. So, fellas, let's close them out. What do you guys got?
Only thing I got, man, is right before we recorded this, I recorded an awesome episode with Brandon Davis, that smart mother that from previous episode. So he actually is going to be dropping a 4-part special on the COVID-19. He's bringing a lot of his other smart mother PhDs into the fold, and he's going to be kind of leading the discussion on that. So we'll be dropping a special episode this week as well, and we'll just let him kind of go through it with his friends to bring you guys up on the educated side of COVID-19. We'll bring y'all the no sense side and let them handle the sense part.
So we are not professionals. As you saw last week, we brought a Three Brothers No Sense live feed with DJ Type Mike. And we just wanted to have fun, play some good music, drinks, but we had some technical difficulties, as you saw if you tuned in. So we'll definitely work on that for the next time. But, in our defense, it was literally last minute, let's have some fun. Let's put this together. So for everybody that tuned in and watched our live feed last week as we jammed with DJ Type Mike, we appreciate you. Thank you. Continue to spread the word about the show. Encourage people to subscribe. A lot of people don't have much to do right now, so let us entertain them for at least an hour per week.
Well, like Buff said, we had a blast last Friday with, what was it, All Good Friday, the Friday before Good Friday. And what even Razi said, we have Brandon, the smart MFer, dropping a couple of episodes on Three Brothers No Sense talking about COVID-19. So we are looking to do new things, looking to keep you guys entertained. Let us know what you want or would you like to hear or see us do. We're open. We're all working from home for the most part. Buff goes back to work next week. So have fun with that. But, we're open to new things. We're going to keep it coming. So it's been a pleasure for me. Thank you, DJ Type Mike, for hosting and doing that for us. You brought back a lot of memories, so we're going to ask you to come back soon. We got if you guys have not read any of the Sherman Cooley short stories. Please go out and read them. The LaFleur short stories. We'll drop a link this week to them. If you see them, go on his page and tell him to keep dropping them and let him know that you're liking and listening to, or liking and reading the short stories. And anything I missed, fellas? Anything else we got coming up soon? Well, by the time you guys hear this, it will be Good Friday will have passed, Easter will have passed. So for all our listeners, since you're not going to church this Sunday, you can also give your kids some Easter speeches, and you can post them on our page. And we want to see these kids do their little Easter speech. I might even get Buff to do an Easter speech or something like that. Buff, you can do an Easter speech for the people.
Jesus is the reason for the season.
Jesus is the reason. Yeah. So once again, Three Brothers No Sense. We appreciate everything you guys do for us and support. So listen, like, share, subscribe, comment, and most importantly, listen again. See you next week.